welcome to another episode of Maunalua, Past, Present, and Future. My name is Kendrick Chang. I'm an advisor for Livable Hawaii Kai Hui, and today we're going to talk about all things Kaiwi. Now, in the past, we have covered several episodes of particular aspects of the Kaiwi coastline and the great work that's being done by the community. And today, we just wanted to kind of bring an overview in terms of everything that's going on for Kaiwi, both in 2018 and just within this past year. And joining me today is Carol Jaxon.
Hi, Kendrick.
Welcome. And Carol is also a familiar face from several of our previous episodes, so welcome back.
Thank you.
Maybe first, what strikes you about, Kaiwi or, what we have in store for, 2018 or what you've been doing this past year?
I think there's a lot going on the Kaiwi coast, and more than people realize, with the preservation of the coastline, and there's all sorts of little projects that people don't even know about, like the Hawaiian yellow-faced bees, and then there's the run, and, there's all sorts of things going on. So I think that every once in a while it's nice to take a step back and look at, what we have going.
Right. And then, as we are going down the list, actually, I did want to start, by discussing about the, successful completion of the Kaiwi Mauka Lands preservation, which happened in April of last year, April 2017. We actually have a couple photos that, if we can bring up the screen, of the Kaiwi fundraising campaign back in 2015, which, with the $500,000 that was raised in the 3-month period, secured the deal for the Mauka Lands preservation. I guess, question for Carol, what, strikes you in terms of, just completing, an actual, preservation of the land, last year?
I think, first of all, it was, not just something that happened 3 years ago. It's been 40 years in the making. It started with the Save Sandy Beach, and then the Kaiwi Coalition, and has continued year after year as different developers and people have come in wanting to change the landscape. And what's unique about the Kaiwi Mauka lands is now all of the land between Makapu Lighthouse and Hanauma Bay is designated either state park or a city and county park or preservation land. And so finally, the people that started 40 years ago can, should be proud and pleased at what they started. And, now we've come full circle and completed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then in follow-up to that, most recently, we recently completed a scenic byway management corridor plan. And, just thinking about, that part, I guess for a lot of viewers is, what is that plan and, why was it necessary to go through that process?
Well, the scenic byway is from Makai Pier to the entrance of Hawaii Kai.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a state scenic byway. So the corridor management plan came out of being designated a state scenic byway, and that was one of the requirements. And at first, at least in my opinion, personally, I felt like, oh my gosh, now there's this thing we have to do. And it's turned out to be a wonderful thing. It's now we have the community coming together to think about, how do we see the future of the Kaiwi coastline? And it's important to bring community together because, how I see it might not be how you see it, might not be how the fishermen see it. Like, I don't fish, so I don't understand their needs. And so it's really good to bring everyone together and think about what do we want Kaiwi Coast Run to look like in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So the scenic byway plan, the corridor management plan that we needed to do, we came up with some defining rules about, does it, preserve, does it educate, does it, fulfill the qualities of how we want to proceed with the Kaiwi Coast. And then we had a lot of projects, and we filtered them through those goals and came up with 20 and, created this plan around those projects that we turned in for the Department of Transportation,
Right.
which is what it was for. And now it's something that we can move forward with, and, do we want to go ahead and do some of these projects?
Yeah. And then, just to touch us right now on the screen, we have a map of the scenic byway. And, most people may not realize, but it really covers from, Maunalua Bay, where Hui Nalu has their canoe house, all the way to right around Sea Life Park and the UH Research dock they have. And I mean, it is much expensive, and part of that process, was including, multiple stakeholders, several of whom you've earlier mentioned. And I think, one question I did want to ask for you, Carol, was, why was it important to bring all these stakeholders from all these different sites for one plan when, in a way, a lot of our activities not necessarily all the time, mix in with each other?
Yeah, it was a real diverse group. The canoe club and the shopping center manager and Hanama Bay, and if you just think about what's along the coastline, and we all look at that coastline a little bit differently. So I think it's important to bring everyone together so that we get all the different ideas together, and we start to understand, how you see the coastline and how I see it, so that we can agree on what's important in moving forward.
Yeah, and then, we had the public comment period, last fall, and then, I forget what was the actual part, in terms of what has transpired from it after, but if you could share, with everyone, after the public comment period, what were the main takeaways, or, what does that plan really speaks to? Ultimately.
Okay. So public comment was open until January, and so now we've just finalized the plan. But as far as like projects, there's everything from like things that are more about the view plane as you're driving or walking or biking along the coast, like kind of getting on a schedule. One of the projects is getting on a schedule with Department of Transportation to clear the brush along the highway, like out by the golf course, so that people can actually see. One of the really, what's the word I'm looking for? That projects that might be hard to come by because of the millions of dollars it would take is all the electrical lines along Kalaniani Highway as you head up toward Hanama Bay. In a perfect world, we might be able to bury those the next time they repave. And then there's other things going on the coast, like protection of the actual beach area, and things that are more specific to the land. And then there's even some about safety, putting up barriers, like at the Lanai Lookout. It's a low wall. It could be dangerous.
Right. And then, with that said, I think it's important for everyone in the audience to understand, this is not a plan that, all right, we're going to implement this and all these priorities are going to happen within 1 year.
No, all of these projects, so the whole Scenic Byway Committee, the committee that was currently together was there to write the corridor management plan. There's no money, so someone would have to say, this project is important to me, and we identified partners, and to go to those partners and say, and kind of hooey around and either raise money to get things done, or go through the process if it's a state or city and county thing. So all of these projects are out there as, hey, these are the things we've thought of, but they all need a champion, they all need to be funded, they all need to bring another group together to make it happen.
Okay. Yeah, and then, maybe finally, on this subject matter, well, I guess for you, was there anything, that surprised you, or was there anything that, maybe you didn't realize that, just after being part of the committee and going through the process, maybe you got a new idea, or?
Not sure if there were a lot of surprises, but what I really became aware of is that people have different ideas.
Right.
Some like I'm thinking along a certain line, and someone you can clearly see is thinking of another line, and I was like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a great idea. And I can't really think of a great example,
Okay.
but I remember having that thought in the committee and thinking, oh yeah, I need to
Right.
keep in mind that we need to think about every project as a community
Right.
and get input on every project.
Yeah. And then maybe, one aspect why, you were very vital to the committee was, you are the director of the Kaiwi Coast Run and Walk, which started several years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, just to kind of give everyone a refresher, it is a fundraiser for the Nalu Canoe Club, and you were spearheading it from day one. If you could, maybe just share a little bit more about it and what were the participation numbers in last year's event.
So, it's going to be 6 years ago now. At that point, I was race director for the Great Aloha Run, and I would just, be down at Nalu with my dog. And so the head coach, Denise Chang, came over to me and said, I know you're race director, and we have this idea. Kelly Faye had this idea. She's, a state championship kayaker, but she's also a runner, of starting a run from Sandy Beach Park to Nalu. I said, oh, they cost a lot of money to put on, and it's a lot of time and effort, but I'll come to one of your board meetings and talk about it. And we got together and started to talk about the Kaiwi Coast Run. And at that point, we really thought that it was going to be like a club run and their families. I mean, our first budget, I think, was around expecting 600 people. And the first year we had over 1,200. So we've always been hugely surprised at the numbers. And of course, when you walk the coastline, you realize how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
And, like, wow, everyone should be doing this. And so we really started as a fundraiser for Nalu Canoe Club. We thought we were going to be very small. And last year, the last couple years, we've had about 2,800 people each year, which has allowed us to take care of a lot of our boat maintenance, buy boats, fly kids to state races when they're off island. And it's also given us this wonderful opportunity of giving back to the community. We've made enough money, the community supported us. The farm in the back of
Kamelanui Valley.
Kamelanui Valley was devastated as well by our flooding. And so we're very happy that we've made enough money off of the Kaiwi Coast Run to be able to give significant donations back to the community.
Yeah, and I think, maybe with that, I mean, just the race route itself, all the way from right by Sandy Beach and Allen Davis Wall and then ending right in Maunalua Bay, I think, for that particular event, it spurred, community interest where now it's pretty much a staple that everyone looks forward to every year. And, do you see how it might have, helped support a lot of all these other initiatives and projects and community work that, that's been going on the Kaiwi coastline?
Yeah. So we've also, donated to the Hawaii Kai Lions with the Rescue Tube project, and as well as, Maunalua.net, because they're a wonderful education website, and I rely on them constantly for, our educational signs. Am I saying this right? Am I using the right words? Because I'm not the Hawaiian expert. And so it's been amazing to watch this develop from a tiny little fundraiser to a staple in the community, and a wonderful way for people to get out to the Kaiwi Coast and see it and experience it. And one of the things we do is we pay for every senior at Kaiser High School to do the run or walk for free, because we want the kids, before they go off to college or go off to working, to see what's in their backyard and experience it, so that when it comes around to things going on in the community and on the coastline, they want to get involved, or they say, oh yeah, I remember doing that as a senior, and wait, do we want to do that to our coastline? Or yes, I want to support that. Start them thinking early on about, the coastline is there for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's very powerful. I mean, I wish, I was at Kaiser, when you started,
We just started that.
Yeah, because my senior was in 2014. I think that was the very first year
Oh,
the run happened, and then
oh, yeah,
after
yeah.
that, unfortunately, I haven't made it since I'm in DC at college in the fall.
Yes, we kept moving. We were looking for the perfect race day, and now we've settled on the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
Right. And yeah, and I mean, just looking at it now, I mean, I know it has surpassed expectations from when you were just looking at it as a opportunity to just take care of the needs and necessities of Hui Nalu, and now it has really become an all-around community-oriented giving back
Yeah.
event. And I mean now, I mean maybe I don't know if there's anything new that might be you could share to the viewers about what might be next or where we are in terms of the 2018 run event.
Well, new for the 2018 event is we're going to allow you to bring your leashed and friendly dogs and pick up after them. So we're going to try that. It's a 1 year that we're just going to try it and see how it works, and then if it works well, we may continue it. But it's just a pilot program right now. So that's our new big thing. And but the couple years ago we started with the educational signs, and then of course you always get the fishing float, which is a reminder of the old time fishing floats that people used to find on the Kaiwi coast.
Yeah. And I think this is a great transition now as I know the date for the Kaiwi Coast Run and Walk is later in November, but we also do have another exciting event coming up in August. Which is the Malka lands. Now that we have, just for everyone's background, now that the Kaiwi Malka lands is owned by Livable Hawaii Kai Hui, our community nonprofit in East Honolulu, as part of the conservation easement deal that was made, we have to have yearly public access days, and part of that public access day includes hiking and also an education component. And for our first year, we are having 2 public access days, which will be on August 5th and 6th. And we are still early in the process. I mean, as of this taping, however, I mean, as Carol and I are both part of the committee, what are you looking forward to with this next adventure?
Well, like you said, we just started planning this access day for the Kaiwi Malka lands. And so there we have a lot of ideas. I'm not sure what all will come to fruition, but the lands will be open on the 5th and 6th of August, and I think we will have guided tours or guided hikes to go out there from the Kalama Valley Shopping Center. So I think that's the first exciting thing is to actually access the land, because right now there's no public access. And then, to kind of clean up, pick up golf balls from the golf course, and maybe clear all the right now it's nose high in grass.
Right.
So that's part of the plans, and then hopefully to maybe give people an overview of the whole entire lands. We have the idea of doing some drone footage or some GoPro footage and having that available to show people. Right. Before they go on the hike or after. Yeah,
and then right now on the screen, we have a couple photos of one of our first planning meetings for this August 5th and 6th, 2018 Exploration Days Kaiwi Malka lands. And once again, just similar to the Scenic Byway, and same with the fundraising preservation campaign. A lot of different stakeholders are involved. We all and just a couple of them are, the Sierra Club for the Oahu chapter. We also have Trust for Public Land, who was also one of the nonprofits part of the Kaiwi, acquisition. And, and of course with you as both a community member, Kaiwi Coast Run and Walk, I mean, I guess, a reoccurring theme with Kaiwi is just, having so many diverse stakeholders and organizations at the table. And maybe if you want to touch on it, Carol, why is that important?
Well, it's important. Like, the Trust for Public Land is the company or the nonprofit that has walked us through the purchase of the land. but they also have a lot of experience in, I went hiking with Elizabeth from the Hui and Laura from the Trust for Public Land, and she knows, the native plants, what is important to trim and what is important to preserve, and a lot of the cultural aspects. And then, of course, the Sierra Club, they can look at it from the standpoint of hiking, what is going to make an interesting hike and what's going to be a safe hike.
Right.
And then as far as myself, I have, now we have this database of people that we can use for either for education or, people that want to, they already show an interest in the Kiwi Coast.
Right.
So, if we need help, if we need volunteers or that kind of thing, I think we all bring a little bit something different to the table. We also have a public relations person on the committee. You're on the committee.
Right.
So it's nice to have that diversity as we go into planning. To think about, everything we need to think about.
No, and then and part of the plan and also the requirements of the public access days is that we do have the hiking component, which is going to be guided, but also the education and orientation aspect. And I think it's important, we should share, and maybe you can touch on it, Carol, is, why is it important to, have a more of a, set program experience instead of just telling people, all right, just go up and hike, all 365 days of the year.
Well, definitely, right now, you don't want everyone hiking 365 days a year because we're accessing the hike through a community, through a residential area. And then you don't want to just send people up there because if they're like me, I don't know plants. That's not my thing. And so you wouldn't want someone like me to just tromp all over the plants because there's some plants that we actually want to get rid of, and then there's some that are native and we want to start cultivating them or just protecting them so that they can spread. So I think a guided hike is very important. And then also because the cultural review has not been done, we haven't had the archaeologists or the anthropologists up there yet. And so we don't know what we don't know. We don't know if there's things that we shouldn't be walking on. And so we're, with the help of the Sierra Club, we're going to devise a hike that's not going to be disturbing to the property. So, and over the years, hopefully we can expand that. But, But right now, we need to be cautious about how we proceed on the land.
And again, you mentioned, safety and then also the cultural aspect. And I guess, and this is not just for the Malcolmlands. This is, for, pretty much you can speak to in general throughout. And, does this kind of bring, a great, more important lesson to the community about, how much, time and effort goes into, facilitating, safe, recreational hiking.
Yeah, I think you need to be cognizant of there's been a lot of people on that land before us, and so we need to make sure that if we don't know what's there, we need to be respectful as we approach it. And, with this first day that's going to be open, we're certainly not going to have a cultural review of the land happening before that. So, yeah, we're just going to be very cautious about it.
Yeah. And then I guess, with, the Kiwis Coast, run and walk, as we still have a few more minutes, left. I think just want to just tie it back one more time to run and walk, I mean, I guess from your perspective, how did it, within 6 years generate, 2 to 3 times more people from the first year? I mean, I don't know if you have a real answer.
Well, I think...
Or a formula.
Well, I think it's just the beauty of the coastline.
Right.
And which is why we're approaching the Kiwi Malcolmlands so cautiously. Like, we had no idea so many people were interested in the coastline. So bringing, opening, we closed the road and opening it up for the public, it's like, wow, we had a lot of people. And, so when we talk about the Kiwi Malcolmlands, if we just said, hey, it's open, we already have people hiking up there, and who knows, what what they're hiking on. Are they hiking on something that is significant in the Hawaiian culture? So we want to approach it, cautiously, since, yes, we've been wonderfully successful with the Kaiwi Coast Run. And so we have that same, feeling that we might be wonderfully successful with the Kaiwi Mauka lands when we open it, and we want to just be cautious with how we approach it.
Right. And then, maybe hopefully, if, after this first year, as part of the easement agreement, we have to have more public access day, from year to year. So hopefully, this will be a good starting point. And, the Kaiwi Coast Run and Walk is just, a testament of the potential of interest, just from one event.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely the demand for future open dates for the Kaiwi Mauka lands, and like we saw with the Kaiwi Coast Run. So yeah, we're excited about the upcoming events, and so you have the opportunity in August 5th and 6th to see the Kaiwi Mauka lands, and then again November 18th to walk the entire coastline with the Kaiwi Coast Run and Walk.
And then we do have the website, www.kaiwicoast.org, to find more information on August 5th and 6th. And there will also be information about how you can find out more about and register for the Kaiwi Coast Run and Walk in November. But, once again, Carol, it's always been a pleasure having you on studio. And, hopefully, we can have another update again, in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and then, finally, we just would like to thank, Ōlelo Studios and Kaimuki High School for, hosting us this evening, and also to Livable Hawaii Kai Hui, who is the organizer of this monthly show. This is Kendrick Chang, host of Maunalua, Past, Present, and Future, signing off. Aloha.